In the first of our driver spotlight videos, I spoke to Anthony Jones, and this just so happened to be right after his first win of the second GT3 season. Unfortunately, I only managed to record his voice in this interview, but my first question for him was, what was your first racing game?
I think it was either Gran Turismo 1 or a NASCAR game that came out for the PlayStation around the same time, but it was that era and probably Gran Turismo 1.
I imagine that was with the old PlayStation gamepads, and I then asked him what his current controller was, which sounded like a pretty cool setup with the Fanatec DD1 wheelbase, mounted on a Revolution cockpit, and using Club Sport pedals and the Club Sport Formula wheel. We then talked a little bit about real racing, and it turned out we both had experience with karting, and I asked him if he could race anything, what car would that be?
So some background here, I do really want to buy a 125cc shifter kart and race it anywhere, but I live pretty close to Laguna Seca, so I want to do that. But that's not a full-sized race car.
So he clearly had an interest in karting. Well, I would have gone for something bigger like Formula 3, although he did mention GT3 cars at one point. We then talked about the most fun races from Season 2 so far, and how much preparation he puts into the races.
Everything before Monza, I actually didn't get that much time to practice, and Monza was the first one I practiced for, and that actually was one of my favorites. I practiced a lot, and I don't know if you remember, but I joined a lap late, so I was like 2 laps down by the time I started. But I think I had the same pace as Whitlock, so I was lapping through the field, and that was pretty fun. But let's see, Paul Ricard, lost my tires. Let's just call it Zolder, the last race we did since I got first. That was pretty fun. Zolder, surprisingly, I only put an hour in before that. Not sure why. So Monza's when I first opened up my schedule a bit to be able to practice more for Zealous. So Monza, Paul Ricard, Mount Panorama, Silverstone, and Barcelona. I was able to put about 6 hours or so of practice in, which should be enough. I would like to get 6 hours of practice, like an hour a day, every day leading up to the race.
And I gave him an open question, which I always find interesting. Would you say that you had a certain driving style?
I think learning, honestly, I think I learn really fast. I'm able to see what I did wrong, watch what someone else does right, and then take that information and harness it. So I think I just learn all of those things quickly, but I'm still learning all of them. So I'm still nowhere near where I guess my first wall will be. I have not hit a wall yet, but learning would probably be learning all of those things is probably my strength.
The last question was, and Jones was obviously driving the Mercedes, does the Mercedes have any advantages?
I hate this car. So this is only my second season, so my second GT3 car, since I started sim racing at all. Before this, I just barely even raced. So in March I started racing, but I picked the Ferrari for my first league race, and I was fine, and I loved that car. But I picked the Mercedes because I just wanted to try something new, and I can't keep the back end down, and I don't know how to tune a car yet. So I'm trying to learn how to set the car up to not have the back end leave, but from what I can tell, it's skittish. Mount Panorama, I had the pace, I just could not keep the back end in line, even if I slowed down. If anything, it's great out of low speed corners. It definitely would beat a Ferrari out of there.
So thanks to Jones for giving that interview. The interviews are based on myself and the drivers both having the free time for them, so it would be difficult to get everyone involved, but hopefully we'll get a couple more on the channel in the near future.